GetCrack. Wake up, motherfucker.
Target dropping 3% as its latest forecast stokes concerns among investors. The retailer saying profit could fall meaningfully in the current quarter as a result of consumer uncertainty. CEO Brian Cornell also telling CNBC that tariffs could lead to price hikes in produce in the next few days. Target shares now down 22% over the past year, while its arch rival Walmart is up 60% in that time. For more, Jan Kniffen joins us here on set. He's the CEO of J. Rogers Kniffen Worldwide Enterprises. Jan, always great to see you. Target had enough problems, and now with tariffs, are they not as well equipped to weather them as others?
Well, they're not right now, no. You know, back in '06, I used to call Target the best retailer in America. Then it switched to Costco. Now it's Walmart, and Target's way down the list. They don't make the top 10. But, you know, they're trying to put it all back together. They're certainly making some changes. They're trying to be more in stock. They've got a lot of things going on. But, you know, I was there for the 3 hours this morning. I started at 8 o'clock, even though they really started talking at 9. And having talked to a lot of people there, they're in the same boat as me, which is trying to figure out what the heck's going on. I don't get the feeling that, I know I'm not convinced. I don't think the people I talk to are convinced that it's getting fixed. I think that Walmart is a big problem if you're Target. When Walmart says to you, my $100,000 a year customers are the fastest growing thing I've got, that's a problem if you're Target. And the other problem is, of course, Amazon. That's not a new problem, but, you know, Amazon was a flash in somebody's eye in 1999. You get to today, and they're one of the largest growing sellers in the country, just like Walmart is, of course, just like Costco is. Target's not in that league, and that's the problem. They're not getting back there yet, and maybe they can, but they haven't convinced me so far.
I say this, it's somewhat hyperbolic, but is there room for Target in today's world? Because they're in the middle of everything, and you don't want to be in the middle in today's retail environment.
It's interesting you put it that way. Is there room? Every time I look at a retailer, I say, there's really no room for this retailer because every one of them, if you put it on the chart, is surrounded by other good people, right? It's just how well are you executing? If Target was Target like it was 20 years ago, and it was convincing you every time it sent you an ad that this was the coolest thing ever, and they convinced you that shopping in the store was the coolest thing ever, like they did back then, sure, there'd be room for them and just take market share from somebody else. But right now, no. I think the way they're currently operating, they're going to be giving share, not taking share. Walmart, on the other hand, is operating the best they've ever operated since 1962 when they were invented. Well, that's pretty tough if you're somebody that has to compete with them anywhere. You know, it's not good to be a dollar store right now and have Walmart stopping out the customer so they're not coming down to you. It's not good to be Target when they're taking your $100,000 a year customer. They're just a machine right now, and I rate them the best company in the country, and I don't see, Costco's a close second, but they used to be first.
Right. So Target has said that Q1 is going to be meaningfully down. They've already said that February foot traffic, that there were problems. Placer said that the whole industry in February was soft, but Target was the worst. And Target's not going to give guidance on the short term, only annual forecasts at this point. In your view, is Target, because of its valuation, worth a flyer, or is it just completely a no-touch?
As I said in my note to you, the only thing I do like about Target is the multiple. But when I look at it, I say, we need some performance to change that multiple. And yes, they're half the multiple of Walmart, but something has to happen for people to want to own them.
So do you think the conservatism that they showed is more specific to them, or will it affect everybody broadly? Because everybody's saying, let's be conservative, why go out on a limb? But you think they really mean it?
Well, think about it this way. January was terrible for almost everybody. Thank God it was in a good fourth quarter and we didn't have to worry about it. Then February, which is, the first month of the quarter now for most retailers, has been really soft. But I absolutely think that's the weather. I think the weather in February is worth 600 basis points to people selling a lot of discretionary goods like apparel. So it was that bad. It was the coldest January in 30 years or sixth coldest in 30 years, and February followed up with it. But last year was warmer, so the shift is huge.
Right.
And I do think that is not just the retailers making it up, they have a good excuse. But if you're seeing that and you're Target and you've been struggling anyway,
Right.
why would you go out on a limb and say anything other than, yeah, it's going to be pretty tough in the first quarter? As a matter of fact, I don't know why anybody's saying it's going to be anything other than pretty tough in the first quarter.
John, that's right. We have a potentially consequential but light on details announcement on the tariffs here. This is coming from Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick giving an interview just in the last few minutes where he's suggesting that there could be a compromise coming tomorrow on these tariffs. He says he's been on the phone all day with the Mexicans and the Canadians, that both countries are trying to show that they'll do better on fentanyl. And he says that the president is listening to them, saying that Lutnick thinks that Trump is going to work something out. He also says it won't be a pause. Lutnick said none of that pause stuff, but he thinks that Trump will find a way to say to the two countries that as long as they do more, he might meet them in the middle some way. The final quote being somewhere in the middle will probably be the outcome, and we're probably going to be announcing that tomorrow, guys. So a lot of questions here. Just how on board, for example, is President Trump with this plan? But this suggests that there are at least negotiations going on, which earlier today we weren't quite sure how much conversation was going on among the three countries. Now Lutnick saying the administration is working on potentially some sort of a compromise. Maybe that's a lower tariff. It sounds like lower at least than the 25% we've been talking about. We may get more details in the coming hours. They say they might announce it tomorrow.
Hey, what's up, guys? Oh man, market's pretty crazy. Oh, pretty crazy indeed. Yeah. Okay, Trope says Target ridiculously inflated prices. I haven't been in Target in a long while. They probably are inflated. Walmart gets more government subsidies. Yeah, it's hard to compete with Walmart. Walmart's got a good supply chain and scale. Now, I can't tell you if just because their headquarters in Arkansas. I can't tell you if Bill Clinton had anything to do with that. All roads lead to Little Rock, man. Anyhow. Okay, let me get the chart up. Let's see what's going on. And yeah, I think Portia is gonna do a stream, right? So she's gonna probably, if she hasn't already started it. So I'll just be a stopgap here. Okay, let's see. MSTR. Damn, this bad boy really has been nice. So Friday I got in just because before market open on Friday, Bitcoin was touched below 80. So I said, give it a shot to buy this at this level here. And it jumped up on Monday, got lucky, all right, jumped out. It fell the rest of the day. And then I said yesterday, watch out for how the market moves, okay? Because we're going to touch lows today and tomorrow, okay? We're not done yet. You never know what's going to happen overnight. If Trump's talking now and then we get some new tariff stuff, it could be very volatile. So maybe another morning or pre-market, it goes down and suddenly shoots back up during the day, just like today, okay? Crazy. I mean, we are in a nutso market right now. SMCI too also had an interesting move, but let's focus on this. You can see it's rapidly moving up and down, banging its head on this wall here, okay, made by this gap between 276 and 296, okay? So this is going to be important. You see the gap here back in November during the election? So that's why this area here down at 230 probably going to get more important. It's probably going to keep going back and forth here until we get a decision on Friday. I have no idea what's that going to be. So right now, I don't know. You guys are just going to have to make it out on a day trades because I don't trust anything except for just day trading mainly. Maybe you can do I just took my chances here, buying it here and just leaving it over the weekend. I just got lucky, man. So if I'm gonna tell you yeah, I can predict that move on Sunday with the news and push up, no, I can't tell you that. I think sometimes or a lot of times your biggest gains will be out of luck. A lot of people would just be happy with this move over here, So I'm using MSTX for now. I could have just shorted this with MSTZ yesterday when I sold, but I'm not doing that. This is too volatile. It's too crazy. So here I didn't even perfectly get in. Okay, so I bought some here when I saw like the market like hold, because I thought today was just going to be moved down, and then the rest of the time it would just slide. All right, but it didn't do that. So by noon, I was checking out the noon candle, and then here you see this big one move up, then you buy. Okay, then you buy. And I bought 3 lots, okay, of this sucker. And what can I buy tonight? Well, if you have access to futures, or you got Robinhood or Interactive Brokers, Deacon Dave, yeah, you can buy overnight on the stocks if you have Robinhood and that you probably should just, well, you can buy crypto too. Crypto will probably move much better. But let's say, man, what is he even going to talk about in general? I don't even know, right? So what would be the best one? Natural gas it already finished its move, so I wouldn't say natural gas. Would I buy wheat and corn? No, that's only if you do futures on commodities right now. I'm going to talk about commodities soon too, but I guess yeah, Deacon Dave, you could just buy some QQQ if you could buy that overnight. QQQ, or you can buy TQQQ if it's a long, if it's a short SQQQ, something like that. But if you have access to futures, you can just trade futures. That's how it is. It's open right now. So I'm going to be watching it. Let's see what the futures will do as Trump talks. See what this happens. So if this thing is going to slam all the way down back here, and then in the morning I just buy again and then ride it back up, I don't know. Or maybe it'll just pump. Shoot, right? Yeah, that's the futures, man. Good luck. That's the beauty of futures. I'm sure CKJ3 is just waiting right now. He's just got his little buttons ready to set and go on his phone, ready to buy and sell. So, but yeah, you can gamble on that. I mean, that's fine if you did elections day. Elections day you had fun, but you'll see. Yeah, if you got Robinhood, that's fine. You can see what's up. Maybe they got a trending one. But anyhow, MSTR is the one I use, MSTR. If you could trade that overnight, I think MSTR is overnight tradable, sure. So MSTR, MicroStrategies, or they changed the name to Strategies, follows crypto and the QQQ. So you can use this one to see what happens. So yeah, I just sold 2 lots up here. All right. So this one, I show you 2 lots. So one lot, you see, I started off with like, okay, I just threw in like 17,000. I said, whatever, here, 17,000 at $25. Okay. So that wasn't even the low today, right? I have one a little bit lower than this that I kept. And then once it started running, I bought more. Like I put 31,000. I said, fuck this shit. I'll buy more. And I got 9% off of that. That's it. So a lot of times I'm showing you this because a lot of times, you're just not going to call the bottoms for real. I mean, here you could see like, oh, okay, Friday's low was here. It's close to Friday's low. Why don't I buy it? No, that's too risky when like the previous candle, the daily candle was huge. Like you could buy here and then all of a sudden it just collapses, right? I mean, you could put a little stop, sure, but I don't like doing that. Like I'd rather wait for the middle of the day around lunch, Eastern or something, and then see what happens there if I want to get back in. But usually the first hour you'll know what's gonna happen. But sometimes like today you don't know. Like here, the first hour boom. Yeah, the rest of the day you're probably going down, right? Boom. The rest of the day you're probably going down. Here you're probably gonna go up a little bit, but then here it just went sideways, right? So a lot of times the first hour will decide everything. So here you kind of like, well, okay, I don't know what this means. So then you'll just have to wait, and you can set an alert, put it on your phone or something, and then your phone will just like TradingView, you got the alerts, or you can use another service. You can email you or text you or something like that, and it'll be like, oh, okay, something happened. Then you'll look at your phone and say, okay, I'll buy something, right? And so I have a little small one here, 23. Then when it started moving up, I started buying more. Now, why did I do that? So if you look at the MSTR chart, there's some little lines here, right? We can just go look at them. We know that this area at 267 was important because yesterday it did this, right? And then we also know on Thursday, last Thursday, it did this. And then we know on Monday, or I mean Tuesday, it gapped down to here. So this level now is very important for the near term. So once it started moving up and it went above like this, I'm using 13 minutes. You can use 10 minutes, about the same. It started doing this. Okay, good candle. It's getting above that moving average, 18. Then it starts going to the second ones, right? And you're like, all right, this looks good. This looks constructive because every candle now is green, 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 green. Pretty much, okay, that's, technically, I guess that's a small green candle, whatever, or red candle, but who cares? Okay, we have two small red candles, ignore them. But most of it's just going very strong. So if you start buying here, let's say, and then when you hit here and you continue through, you buy more. You get more aggressive. And then once you get into here, you're ready to sell. Because here, this zone is time to get out, right? So that's it. That's all you got to do. A lot of people sometimes don't like that, but when you have a strong move, you have to buy high and sell higher. I know people like to sell low buy low and sell high, but most of the time when a trend is very strong like this, you just got to keep adding to the position until you get to a level where there was problems here, right? This is a problem here. This, as you get closer to here, you're ready to pull the trigger and get out, right? That's it. Let's see, when was the last time? Yeah, the last time we hit this zone was in January 2nd, New Year. So this area is tough. So we're going to be fighting here for a while. I don't know, up and down, up and down. Now, the other one I want to talk about is SMCI, because when I saw this move this morning, I was like, wow. If the market is happy, then it's done. It's completed. So we got to this 34.88 cents level, which is kind of like a minor resistance. Like, at least it didn't go down to 32.50 cents. So I got back up here. Okay, this looks promising. So I bought some here too. I kept it. And I also bought some semiconductor SOXL leverage. All right. Yeah. So since I saw SMCI do that, fine, I'll do that. Because what happened yesterday was there was some report that, they were smuggling some NVIDIA chips into China through Malaysia and Singapore or something like that. I don't know if that mattered too much, but they just piled on all the bad news because of the tariff stuff. So once you got the tariff stuff and the report for the stagflation from the ISM, they'll just start piling in more bad news to try to push down NVIDIA. So when NVIDIA went down, what do we have? A lot of other stocks go down with it. We had some uranium stocks follow suit. So I'm going to play this one here, this video with some uranium. All right. And you'll see what I mean, because I think, a lot of stocks really do follow NVIDIA, even though they seem like they're not really related, but they really are.
Yes, is the CEO of Uranium Energy, and he's already been seeing an increase in enriched uranium imports from China, saying tariffs will only accelerate that. Amir Adnani is the CEO of the company, one of the largest uranium miners in North America, and it's great to have you here. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly.
So investors are going to be sort of confused. They're going to say, okay, shares are down today. They're down 40% since the fall, and yet here we have this talk about kind of reshoring our energy supply, which should benefit you. So just disentangle that for us.
Market doesn't like uncertainty, and tariffs have for sure created uncertainty around the industry. And really, when you go back even to DeepSeek, which was about a month ago, we've seen the entire nuclear sector and uranium sector start to move one leg down after another. Mm-hmm. And so this is just, I think, par for course when you have uncertainty in the market. But tariffs are complex. And we certainly don't want to get ahead of them. But on a positive note, we're seeing a premium right now on uranium that is warehoused in the U.S. So there is certainly positive green shoots developing, but it's just so complex, and obviously questions need to be answered.
Yeah, I mean, you look at NVIDIA, which was down 5% at last check, and your stock in many ways seems like it's a high beta play on what's going on in terms of chip demand and everything that people are expecting on that front, which is kind of a tough place to be.
I never thought in all these years doing this, the company was founded 20 years ago by myself. 20 years doing this, I didn't think we'd be correlated to NVIDIA.
Yes, exactly.
We should be correlated to supply demand for uranium, plain and simple, right? And
which in the long run you should be, right?
100%, but you're 100% right that these correlations have been created over the last 6 months, perhaps, in particular. And what we're noticing too, though, is, and what's most troubling is the fact that we're importing almost 100% of uranium requirements and nuclear fuel requirements into the U.S. 100% of it.
And do you know the breakdown of where that comes from? Obviously, a chunk is Canada, and a chunk of that is Russia, right?
Our biggest concern last year, based on stats that were made available, were the amount of and the spike we saw in Chinese uranium product imports into the U.S. And Russia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan certainly are actually some of the biggest suppliers over the years. U.S. has had a trade imbalance when it comes to uranium and nuclear fuel issues. And so to some extent, you would argue that Canada as an ally is not the big issue here. We have significant trade imbalances, importing practically 100% of our requirements, but state-owned companies of China and Russia play a far more important role than Canada does.
So you're based in Corpus Christi, as I understand it. Where are you mining the uranium here in the U.S.?
We're 6 months into a phased ramp up in Wyoming. Okay. Wyoming is where we just hit a milestone last week, drying and drumming of our first uranium concentrate.
But are there any other uranium mines in this country, or?
There are several projects that are trying to get off the ground. UEC, my company, as you mentioned, is the largest and fastest growing. We're operating in Wyoming. We're building a new mine south of Corpus Christi in Texas, and so that's going to be coming online later this year. So we're seeing all the market signals here to grow domestic capabilities.
If we gave it a long enough time, I know we can't bring this stuff online that quickly, but how much of what we're importing do you think we could replace with domestic sources?
We have an industry association, the Uranium Producers of America, that surveys the whole industry. And they've put out reports that over the next 5 to 10 years, we can see production go from basically nothing to 20 to 25 million pounds. And the country consumes about 50 million pounds per year.
Wow, so half the supply?
Half the supply of what is available.
Is that then, so if I'm sitting, in the White House thinking through this and you come, you say, look, we're getting more from China. Is that what you want? We're getting more from Russia. Do I say, well, but, we just wait a few years and you're a great company and others, you're going to be able to replace that very quickly?
But despite what we just said about the uncertainty, though, the White House actually last week came out very clearly with the executive order on the creation of the National Energy Dominance Council. It talks about, and one of the objectives is that we need to address national security of energy supply chains, and that uranium is an amazing national asset. And Energy Secretary Chris Wright has had a secretarial order to unleash the commercial nuclear power capabilities for grid reliability. And so we actually think there's a huge market dislocation here. The fact is, this administration could not be any more clear about wanting to rebuild American energy production capability and its supply chain.
All right, so let's see what we got in uranium. URNM, the ETF for uranium miners, it's been doing badly since October. And I think that mirrors a lot of the energy stuff too with lithium. Yeah, so this kind of like alt green energy type stuff, yeah, it hasn't been doing well. Let's see what U.S. oil, yeah, oil's still down, $67 per barrel. Now, natural gas has been doing pretty good. Good weather, basically. Good weather meaning bad weather for everyone else. So it's getting cold out there, right? So I think, we're going to have some freeze into March. I think that's being confirmed now with the latest forecasts. So, that gas still doing okay. And we've hit this level again, this top here. That looks very bullish for the summer. I have to talk about boil and cold. So I might do cold again. Cold meaning I'm shorting it at this level and see if it pulls back. But after that, I might get really serious on boil here. Okay, so boil being from 37 to 99 right now. So I think this is it. This is like we've completed our base here, BOIL, and we're ready to rock. Because this thing used to be a high flyer back in the invasion days of 2021 into 2022, right? So this whole point here, well, the invasion actually started in 2022, but we had a nice move up from COVID. And then, everything fell back because we got warmer winters in Europe and all this stuff. And then we had a nice sharp pullback. And, this is kind of deep here, but you have to remember, like, these ETFs, they roll over futures contracts. So that's why you see a sharp dip on Boyle. You don't want to hold this long term. So if you look at this, it's not as low, okay? I actually drew some predictions here, but none of those panned out. So way back when. So finally, this could be it. We're finally completing this base. I've been waiting for many years for this thing to finally move up in a big way, because once you got natural gas going, it goes really high, really fast. So this is it. We're at the beginning of the move, okay? So this year will be it. Now, how high do I expect it to go? That's another question. If it doubles, say it doubles, then we can at least get 200% on here minimum from this point. Okay, from this level, let's say. So maybe just get to 300. I don't know. Can it? Yeah, okay. If it's 2x, yeah, maybe at least 300. Okay, yeah. So Boyle from that point. Yeah. So I'll look into that. Let's see what happens. The other one is ASTS. Did good on earnings yesterday, so I'm going to definitely be interested here. Yeah, because I did buy some today. I might buy a lot more if the market doesn't puke, though. All right. So this is the space satellite business, and then we have Lunar, LUNR. Okay, this one will have a landing in 2 days. So I'll read out the article for you guys. Okay, so right now it's still hanging out at 13 something. So still doing okay here. But ASTS, I did buy some. I did buy some here at 25-ish. So I'm gonna look to see if this thing can move on. But we have to wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have ISM service service numbers. All right. So we got to worry about that one first. That's 10 a.m. Eastern. So after Trump talks, that, and maybe during the day, we'll have some tariff negotiations with Mexico, because Mexico wants to retaliate now on Sunday. Canada already retaliated. China already retaliated. China basically saying they don't want to buy our soybeans or whatever. So let's look at soybeans. So SOYB, the ETF for soybeans, it's been moving down since the whole tariff stuff started getting closer. The deadline started moving closer. It's been moving down. Perfect. So this is where I wanted to see it go back, and let's see if it can hold this area. Then I'm going to look to buy for the rest of the year. SOYB, corn is for corn. Same issue. It's moving back down. Okay. Oh, this ain't the ETF. Here, corn. This is the ETF. Okay. Corn, CORN. And then the last one is wheat. Wheat, less of a priority. I don't think China buys much of our wheat. All right. So there you go. But it is back down. So this is what I was waiting for. I want to see if a bottom starts forming, and we'll go into it. So the grains, I think for the rest of the year will be important. All right. That's it. That's all I'm going to talk about for the tickers today. Gold still doing okay. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll talk about that. As far as uranium, LTBR is probably, this is not a mining stock, but it's an infrastructure stock. So it did do well in earnings. The reaction anyway, it's trying to hold for above 1080 something. And okay, yeah, it might be the play for this rest of the year. I think if this holds, it can continue higher. Is this a big multi-level base? And let's see where you think it will go. I don't know, $36 from 10, $50 from 10. Yeah, all that's possible. So it's a very volatile stock, though. I don't think I would like to hold it. Another one I'll mention briefly is Mexico. It did its bottom here. You see that? It hit that little area of support, 47, and bounced back. Once that whole tariff stuff blows over and the market just accepts it, then I think it will try to attack 53 again. That's when you'll just start like trying to move in, because once it's done with all the bad news, yeah, Mexico will probably do well for the rest of the year as well. So that's it. And I'm using MEXX to trade this. So every time it hits like 9 something, you'll buy back. You keep going back forward. Eventually, it'll break out. And I think It probably can get back to the 20s somewhere here. So it'll be a double from this point, but we'll see. It could go higher, you know. China, you'll have to wait on. You have to wait on China. China is still trying to hold on to its gains. So a lot of Chinese stocks we've been talking about past month, yeah, but I'm not going to be aggressive on it. You should have been selling during the move up. Wait, just wait, see if it pulls back, and then we'll look into it. Okay, anything else? WGS did okay. I already mentioned that yesterday. Just keep that in your mind, and we'll talk about Lunar right now. LUNR, interactive robotics. What the heck is it called? Interactive, intuitive machines. Man, it's so weird. All right, LUNR. I just call it Lunar. Okay, and it's going to have its landing, its lunar landing of its module in 2 days. So if the market does go okay and it recovers tomorrow, yeah, just buy this for a couple days and see if it can get back up to 18. That's 30%. I don't know if it will. So just before like the actual result of the landing, you can get a trade. Like, I don't care if it actually lands upright or not. That's what the problem happened last time. It couldn't land upright. Now we'll see. Okay, let me get the article. Let me get the article. NASA right here. Okay. Or the press release, I mean. Press release. Okay, guys. Yeah, get the press release. Okay, good. Okay, here's the press release. NASA sets coverage for Intuitive Machines' second private moon landing. Carrying NASA technology demonstrations and science investigations, Intuitive Machines is targeting their moon landing no earlier than 12:32 p.m. EST, all right, Eastern, Thursday, March 6th. So this is going to be several hours before the market close on Thursday. So you got about tomorrow, Wednesday, then Thursday, right? Half of the day. So you can like buy if the market doesn't puke tomorrow, or if it does puke, you know, you can buy it at a cheaper price. LUNR is the ticker. LUNR. And see if you can trade it up, because people will just be buying, gambling that it actually lands upright closer and closer to the time it actually does the landing. Okay, so the stream starts at 11:30, okay, a.m. Eastern on Thursday, so you can watch it live. So just before they find out if it landed upright, just sell. And then, or you could keep some and see if it like actually landed. Maybe it'll get a bigger bump after it successfully lands, and then sell the rest. Sell half and then sell the second half right after. So yeah, there you go. I put the link in the chat. Okay. So somebody will be live streaming this in YouTube, I'm assuming. All right, so good luck. Good luck with that. That's a good potential trade right there. And now I'm gonna continue a little thing talking about the whole Mar-a-Lago Accord I was talking about yesterday. So this will give you some backdrop, because they mentioned that the author of that Mar-a-Lago Accord, Mr. Mirren, who's now in the head of the Economic Council for Trump, I think he got confirmed by Congress. I'll put a little music up for you. I think this would be a good backdrop. I'll give the link here in the chat. Okay, here you go. Will commodity-based currencies supplant Eurodollar? So Eurodollar, if you ever watched any of the streams I did with John, or the streams here where I talked about the dollar milkshake, you'll understand what that means. But essentially, Eurodollar is the term for dollars or loans denominated in dollars outside the US. So back in the old days, it was all the European countries that had the European banks that were dominant. So they had a lot of dollars because after World War II, they had to take a lot of dollars from 1944, okay? And that was the Bretton Woods Accord, right? Or Bretton Woods Convention or something like that. Currencies usually enjoy a century of dominance, with the dollar gaining its status in 1944. That may be coming to an end, right? William Middlecoop, member of the OMFIF Advisory Board. Monetary resets happen on average every 92 years. The Spanish, Portuguese, Dutch, and British all have seen their world reserve currency status rise and fall within a century. The latest full monetary reset happened in 1944 when the Bretton Woods system was born. The beginning of a new gold-backed dollar standard was welcomed by 44 countries. It marked the start of the current U.S. hegemony. In 1971, President Richard Nixon was forced to close the gold window after the U.S. lost half of its gold reserves in the late 60s. European countries decided to exchange surplus dollars for physical gold after the U.S. printed too many dollars to finance the Vietnam War. In 1944, the U.S. had promised the dollar was as good as gold to win European support. So 1971 can be seen as the start of Bretton Woods 2.0. Now, that's probably why we got to find out where the gold is, you know? Is all that gold that's left after that date still in Fort Knox? Now we seem to be on the verge of Bretton Woods 3.0. It all started in 2020 when the International Monetary Fund published a new section on their website, A New Bretton Woods Moment. Just 1 month after Russia invaded Ukraine, an influential interest rate strategist at Credit Suisse, remember this name. This is why I got this thing, because I've read his published notes from Credit Suisse. I have them all saved. So I mean, it's really esoteric shit. I probably will try to find select passages to read from all his little articles during his time at Credit Suisse, because then you'll understand exactly what's going to happen during Trump's term and into the future. I think we are going to change how the dollar is done here, the dollar system. So Zoltan Pozsar. So I think that's a Czech name or Polish, I don't know, something like that. Published an article, or maybe it's Hungarian. Yeah, it could be Hungarian. Zoltan. Bretton Woods 3.0, with an intriguing thesis that we are witnessing the birth of a new world monetary order centered around commodity-based currencies in the East that is likely to weaken the Eurodollar system. He calls it a move away from inside money, fiat dollars, to outside money, gold, bullion, and other commodities, and claims there is no further need for many countries to collect any more paper assets. Oh, so that's why we're so keen on getting a mineral deal with the Ukraine. So right now, this is a war on hard assets. And after we cornered the market on hard assets, and that's why I played that uranium video, because we definitely need to have our own uranium, right? You saw the pie chart. We get uranium from everywhere else. Canada, Australia, China, Russia, you know, through proxies, essentially. According to Pozsar, we have reached the end of a decades-long trend of dollarization and globalization. That's true. Globalization is definitely ending. The weaponization of the dollar by confiscating $650 million of Russian reserves gave many countries a reason to consider moving away from it. This de-dollarization trend is not only visible in Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. All of Africa, Latin and Central America, the Middle East, and most of Asia are not joining the financial economic sanctions against Russia. Over 80% of all countries worldwide chose to stay neutral. Even the Council of Foreign Relations pointed to the fact countries like India and Saudi Arabia now want to de-dollarize. Over half a century after the start of the petrodollar deal of 1971, the Saudis are openly flirting with Russia and China. According to press reports, they are even considering joining the BRICS alliance. a video of Mohammed bin Salman, the kingdom's crown prince, high-fiving Russian President Vladimir Putin during the 2018 G20 summit gave us an early signal. Saudi imports of Russian oil have doubled in the second quarter of 2020, while they have started to supply India with oil to be paid in rupees instead of dollars. According to the Wall Street Journal, Saudi Arabia even considers accepting yuan instead of dollars for China's oil sales. The BRICS and their new friends no longer consider U.S. Treasuries safe assets. They now prefer assets without counterparty risk. Over 30 countries have added to their central bank gold reserves recently. The Russians and Chinese, who have been accumulating massive amounts of gold since the global financial crisis, understand the importance of gold. A Putin advisor, Andrei Bykov, has written several articles about paper gold and the gold price suppression scheme. The old wisdom of he who has the gold makes the rules hasn't been forgotten in the East. The massive and open revolt against the U.S. system was discussed on Indian national television. The host openly discussed Western double standards. Why didn't the world call for sanctions after the unilateral military aggression against Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya? As a result, the U.S. seems to have lost respect as the world leader. Influential Arab scholar Ibrahim Hashem, Asia Global Fellow at the Asia Global Institute, recently tweeted, to stabilize the international financial system and end US dollar weaponization, there's no need to completely supplant it. The world needs to only eliminate dollar's dominance by boosting the share of other currencies such as RMB, renminbi, that's the yuan, Chinese yuan, in international trade and reserves happening now. The global geopolitical shift away from a unipolar to a multipolar system will have huge consequences. For almost 80 years, the world has been harvested a peace dividend. This was especially true after the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, when former communist countries adopted the Western capitalist system. Now another change is in the air. El Salvador welcomed financial representatives from 44 countries for a Bitcoin-centered conference while planning to structure the first Bitcoin-linked sovereign bond. Now, Tether, the stable coin, pretty much the largest stable coin besides USDC for crypto, is moving their headquarters to El Salvador. El Salvador is quite safe now. Apparently the real estate there is very good. Okay, with inflation rising, we seem to have reached the end of cheap labor, energy, and even cheap money. And we have reached the end of cheap solutions as well. Every crisis in the last 50 years was solved by printing more and more money. However, inflation is one of the few economic problems you can't fix with easy money. For now, Russia is the big winner. It is one of the few countries willing to arbitrage Russian commodities. According to Pozar, China can now be seen as the neutral leader in the BRICS alliance, with the People's Bank of China as the central bank of commodities. The world of commodities is moving away from just-in-time to just-in-case model. Stockpiling commodities seems to be wise, according to Goldman Sachs. Buy commodities now, worry about a recession later, was their recent advice to clients. The old mantra of "it's our currency but your problem" has now morphed into "it's our commodity but your problem." It's hard to predict the outcome of all these changes. However, the West needs to prepare for a world no longer accepting the rules of the game designed in Washington or New York. Now, there you go. Very good. I think that's a very nice summary of what Pozar said. Pozar goes into elaborate detail and schemes of how he constructs the Bretton Woods 3 project. But because Mirren wrote that paper in November last year, and he's now the head of the Economic Advising Council for Trump, and he's read Pozar's thesis, then these guys are implementing exactly the recommendation that Pozar wrote 3 years ago when Russia invaded. So we have a new world order coming soon. All right, guys. So that goes back to the tariff stuff, right? And I'll get back to that. But let me go back into talking a little bit about how the market indicators look. Okay, let me see how they look. If they come online here. All right. Let's see how we go. So we had a C5 wave up here. We're going down, and we're nearly at 566. That's the target. And we're at 8 count. So what that means is tomorrow will be a big deal. That will give us a 9 count. Once we have a 9 count on the daily candle, it should stop going down. So that's why I said tomorrow was it. So that's why yesterday I said these 2 days will be the last tests of the bottom. We might not go down to a new lower low, but we might just, you know, have a volatile day again down here. And once we get through that, see what you can buy there for Thursday and into Friday. I don't know if you guys want to risk Friday's news. I have no clue what will happen. But if Friday goes well, then yeah, this S&P, the SPY ETF can go back maybe to 597. And then after we hit 597, then we can go back down. All right. So that's the game. That's the game plan. All right. That's it. I think that's it. I'll play one more video here. We can end the stream. Oh, 2 more videos, actually. Since we're talking about crypto, I might as well bring this up.
This announcement of a strategic crypto reserve, a sort of announcement, is exposing a rift among some of his biggest Silicon Valley backers. Deirdre Bosa has more in today's Tech Check. Deirdre?
Hey, Kelly. So this really exposes a deeper ideological battle within Silicon Valley's pro-Trump faction. It pits those in favor of less regulation at any cost against libertarians who see this as potential distortion of free markets against the Bitcoin maximalists who see other coins as diluting Bitcoin's narrative. Now, these tensions, they were on public display over the weekend. The administration's crypto czar, David Sachs, facing off against Joe Lonsdale, an influential ally. Lonsdale critiqued the use of taxpayer money for a U.S. crypto reserve. That put Sachs on the defense. And then you had Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, indirectly questioning the rationale behind diversifying the reserve, suggesting that a Bitcoin-only option would be the best option. You also had one of the Winklevoss twins as well coming out against it. It has also led to accusations of self-dealing among VCs that have gained influence in the White House. While Sachs says that he has sold his crypto positions, he's still an early investor in Bitwise, a crypto asset management firm whose top 5 holdings, you're looking at it right now, and its BITW fund, are the exact cryptos the president announced for inclusion in the reserve. Now, to be fair, they're also the top 5 cryptos by market cap, excluding stablecoins. A spokesperson from Craft Ventures tells me that Sachs is still in an ethics process and cannot speak to startup investments in the meantime, but that really hasn't stopped critics from questioning whether the reserve's structure was influenced by tech's ties to the industry and the White House. There's another VC firm, Andreessen Horowitz. It was one of the earliest and highest profile Trump supporters here in the Valley during the campaign. It's also an early investor in Cardano and Solana. This Friday, the White House will hold its crypto summit, and we could see these tensions boil over, or they could blow over, as one industry insider said he's hopeful they will. But Kelly, a real test, perhaps, of support among tech for Trump.
What's the case with the crypto summit at the White House Friday?
Well, they're going to be giving more details. They're going to be inviting many from around the community. So we'll see if they sort of coalesce around the idea of having a reserve versus stockpiling Bitcoin only, or maybe some of those tensions come out into the open even more. But it is the next sort of data point to keep an eye on.
I don't think tensions would come out into the open at the White House, Deirdre. It's too it's not the place.
Why would that happen?
No.
Yeah, that would never happen before.
No, we've never seen it. Deirdre, thanks. Andy Blocker is Global Head of Public Policy at Invesco. You're here with me, which is great on a day like this. What would your message be to investors who maybe have front run a little bit of what you're about to say as the market kind of comes back here?
Yeah, I think what the market's doing right now, the big story has been the tariffs, that they're actually going to be implemented with Mexico and Canada. But if you look at most of the investment community, they're saying that this probably is temporary. They're not seeing them as permanent. They're seen as President Trump saying, hey, last time I put them off. This time I'm for real. So they take me seriously going forward. And then he'll find a way out at some point. The question is, what's that timeline?
Yeah. Because so there's sort of 2 tracks of this. There's the track of businesses going, we just don't want tariffs, period. And then the track of businesses going, well, we can work with anything if we just know it's basically a permanent change. So, I'm sure they'd still say, look, we'd still rather not have them. But if you put them in effect for a week and then you're going to take them off, I mean, I don't think people are going to be thrilled with that either.
No, I think that creates a lot of volatility. As you saw in the first term, especially with China, there was a lot of volatility in the markets while they were figuring out what they were. But once they determined the price, just one-time price change. The thing here is that it's everywhere, everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not just China, it's Mexico, Canada, our closest partners, and Europe potentially. And so where do you go? And if you're trying to make investments, where do you make the investment? Unless you're investing in the U.S., then this is only a certain place.
But the markets here don't look that great. The markets look better in Europe.
Well, at least for the supply chain. If you're doing all your manufacturing in the U.S., you have some certainty. If you have any kind of supply chain that's anywhere else, it's really tough to make that strategic decision.
Yeah, so you think basically this is, to some extent, for show, and we're not going to actually end up in a situation where we have 25% Mexico, 25% Canada, and 33% China.
Yeah, it's partly for show, but it's also to send a signal to Europe and China, hey, I'm coming for you. And if I'm willing to do it with Mexico and Canada, I'm definitely willing to do it with you.
Mm-hmm. So that they give more concessions, they treat it seriously and don't just say, yeah, he's going to delay it if we just kind of, okay, fine. So then let's talk for a second about something else that might come up tonight as vis-a-vis Ukrainian defense and all the rest of it. The U.S. defense stocks have sold off this week, while the European ones have obviously rallied quite sharply. Would you say anything to investors there? I mean, do you think that is giving us a preview of the new world order, so to speak?
I think long term, yes, we've definitely initiated a move for Europe to actually finally start creating their own European industrial military complex. However, that's going to take a lot of time. And even though Trump has withdrawn the current funding for Ukraine, once they get back to the mineral deal table and head towards peace again, they're going to be back, and the U.S. defense stock should come back at least in the short term. Long term, that's another story.
Well, listening to you, I feel like we have no problems and everything's solved, and everyone's just freaking out for no reason. What about the government shutdown? You can add that to the list of concerns. Potentially, what is it, March 18th, something like that?
March 14th is the deadline. The Republicans are working on a deal to try to figure that out, but normally they need Democratic votes, and right now Democrats are not as interested in working with them. Democrats are trying to say hold back, whereas some Republicans think, hey, if we put a clean CR out there, there's some Democrats who are going to feel emboldened or that they necessarily have to vote for that. So that remains to be seen. A lot of people are baking in some type of shutdown. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, remember the last administration, the time Trump was in, we had the longest shutdown in history of plus 30 days. I'm not sure we're going to do that, but I think there's going to be some wrangling over that.
So we have that to look forward to. I know we got to go. Anything else you'd be listening for tonight? Any curveballs?
I think to the extent that President Trump can put in some certainty on his direction would be really helpful for markets and investors.
All right. I think you got a nice timeline there. We have government shutdown just before the Ides of March. Did I say talk about the Ides of March? We got that. And then Jerome Powell will talk again. The Bank of Japan will talk again, like several days after the Ides of March. So we got shutdown and then that. So 14th, Friday. Shutdown drama hits the peak into Saturday, Sunday, right? Saturday will be the Ides of March. And then we'll have Tuesday, I believe, Bank of Japan on the 18th. I think that's a Tuesday. Let me see. Yes, that's a Tuesday. And then 19th, you have Jerome Powell talk. So very good. All the activity will happen on that week. So be prepared. So next week will be the last week to trade, at least in some direction. And after that, it'll be hard as hell to trade. So make your money now as quickly as possible and then get out. Be prepared to short. I think that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to get ready for the real short. Like, let's see what's going to happen here. Let's see. So let's look at Tesla. Tesla, I did buy some here, right? Around 300-ish. So I was using the TSLR ETF. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna go here. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna buy more, but not too sure. Let's see. So TSLA, so Tesla. So it hit 262 today. Good. So that's the final drop. So it didn't hold 290. That's a shame. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Maybe I'll make a quick bounce into next week. Can trade that move. So let's say I get most of my buys here around 270 and see if it can recover there. So that's 20% on TSLA. If I do TSLR, okay, 2x leverage, then that's basically 40%. So I can get around from 18 back to 25. Okay. So watch, that's another potential trade for you to get. So that's a 40% move there. So there's potential, lots of potentials there for a quick recovery. But after that, you should probably short the market because this is way too much here. You got this big red candle, green candle, red candle back. And I said 2 days down after that drop on Monday. That means the next time it tries to move up, it's going to struggle a lot. This is a huge blocking action here. These candles are very significant. Moving past this to get back to that area is going to be hard. So if I show you on this chart here, you can see, right? We hit this area. This thing is going to be trouble between 592 on the SPY to 597. I doubt it can get past it. Once it gets stuck here, it's ready to roll over again. And next time it moves down, okay, into April, it's just going to slice through here. It's not even going to bother stopping. I think once we hit here and then rolls over, that's it. So that'll be my prediction. I think from here, this is looking more likely. So this zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. All right, into April, into basically tax day. That's what it's going to do. All right, so we'll be seeing 560 something down there. So that's where you'll be shorting. That's it. This will be the big move from here to here. That'll be the big move, next big move. Because I think this is pretty clear message that you are not going to go back to 600 again. You're done. All right, and if you look at the QQQ, similar story. We're at below this level. That's not good. So NASDAQ's looking pretty weak here. And yeah, I think maybe if we cut through this, we might be able to get to 520 on the QQQ, 525. I don't know. This is a hard order. This is probably harder to get into. We'll have to see how much follow through we get on Friday. Okay, so that's what we're gonna have to look at. The tech sector is going to be leading everything now. This thing really has to go up, but it did have a lot of volume today. So I'm curious to see what happens tomorrow. And then on Friday. Okay, that's it. I think we covered everything. I think you understand what's going on. Okay. And I'll probably have to look through some Posar notes, find out some select articles, and we'll get to them to talk about, because yes, there's a new world order coming. This is phase 1 of the pain. It's going to take many phases before Trump gets what he wants. You're going to go through a lot of negotiations and tactics. Here's the bond market. Yeah, this is going to be something that's, I think Samantha LeDuc said, like around August. August is when the bond market will go crazy. So watch that. I think we're just going to be stuck in this range. And then eventually something will happen. And I don't know what that means. Maybe it'll crash the bond market and the interest rates will peak or something around August. So expect something to happen in August that will really make everything go crazy. But for now, look at commodities. Natural gas going up. So that's what I'll be focused on. Wheat, corn, soybeans, and gold and silver, of course. But I think gold and silver are going to be tired out. I have a hard time believing it's going to get much further than 3,000. It'll probably get stopped up here somewhere and then give up. And we'll have to come back later some other time with gold and silver. But who knows? I might change my mind about that. All right. I think that's 1 hour right at the dot. Okay, guys. So please, if you have questions, email me at CARACK@JGHB right here. There, and you should donate to Portia at $PORSHAJAYE, and you should go over to the stream if she isn't doing it already for the Donald Trump speech, and email PORSHA@JGHB.info, and you can use that to do the PayPal as well. Okay, and you can also donate on Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/theurbanlandlord. And please like and subscribe and sub if you haven't already. So I think we're going to have some fun pretty soon this month. And maybe I'll finally start my Substack and put some trades down, and we can monitor them through that venue. But I think I had enough stuff the past month and a half, and I can go back and say, like, well, was that prediction right? Was that prediction right? And then we can list them all out. I'll clip them all out, and we'll go from there. All right, guys. Later.
Feel like I should, feel like I should, feel like I should, feel like I should go. Go. Feel like I should go. Feel like I should, feel like I should, feel like I should, feel like I should go. Feel like I should go. Feel like I should, feel like I should, feel like I should, feel like I should. I should go.